Welcome into Other People's Shoes. I'm your host, Neil, and today is a day I've waited for a long time to share this episode with you. Today I sit down with some very near and dear friends of mine, Chad and Leslie, an amazing couple. Let me tell you, we have so much in common and so much not in common, but one thing we have in common is our love and passion for youth and seeing them grow. And today we sit down and we talk about the days gone past and how we worked with youth and share some of our woes, some of our victories, some of our challenges along the way. And hopefully this will bring you some encouragement as we dive into, again, the subject of why people have left church. Hope you're ready, because you know I am. Let's go.
Hey, come take a walk with me. Not like you used to do. Do something different and put yourself in other people's shoes. Open up your mind and open up your eyes and change your direction, change your perspective.
Welcome into Other People's Shoes. I'm your host, Neil. And again, we are on this journey of why youth leave the church. So tonight or today or this morning, whenever you are choosing to hear this, I have been interviewing youth. But something happened along the way, right? I was not a one-man band. I was not a lone ranger, even though some youth leaders are. I actually had the privilege of having two amazing people who were married, who loved youth just as passionately as I did, come alongside me. These two have been longtime friends and people who I admire. And without further ado, I'm going to let them introduce themselves. But here they are, Chad and Leslie. And really, you guys, I know we've joked about this for years, but you guys should really have your own show. I mean, Chad and Leslie, I mean, it just sounds like a fun TV show. But anyway, who wants to go first? Who wants to introduce who first?
My name is Chad Fitzgerald, and I am happily married to Leslie Fitzgerald.
Hi.
And 20 years, almost 21, coming up on 21. And
your anniversary can almost drink.
That's right.
Yeah, my anniversary will be able to drink this next
nice.
February 27th.
Cool.
And yeah, I am passionate about youth. Had the opportunity to work in several different churches doing youth, and love working with youth, conversing with youth, teaching youth, playing with youth, not in a bad way.
Yeah. Games and things like that. Yeah. So this is going to be fun. Leslie, do you want to chime in with anything?
Sure. And I come alongside Chad and do all that with him. I also loved youth, and when we were asked to step in and help you out with youth, we were happy to do so, and we had a great time doing it. Thank you for the introduction. It was very nice.
Yeah. I meant what I said, yeah.
Thank you.
Not just for the show, it's just I mean what I said. Yeah.
And I work with children more now than youth, but I do have two youth. We have a 16-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old son.
Wow.
It's crazy to say it, but yeah.
It is, because I remember when your daughter was a baby. Yeah, and I remember you even being pregnant.
I was pregnant when you and Elizabeth got married.
Wow. That's right. So that would have been 01. And then we went to Mexico one time, and you were pregnant with your son.
Nope.
No? Yes.
Yeah, it was your son.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
So, so I'm going to pick on Chad for a minute first, because we've all the three of us really have traveled so many miles together. But Chad, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember the very first time we met. Mm-hmm. We were in basically neighborhood church has what they call an annex building. And there was a Bible study, I think, going on at that time, maybe in there, or at least was my memory. Somehow we're in there together, and you come face to face with me. Like, if I'd have stuck my tongue out, I probably would have hit your lips. That's how close you were to me, just to give a little visual of that. And you said, hey, I heard you're the youth guy. What time is youth group? And I want to show up and see what's going on. Now, I'm 19, 20-something at the time. So I don't know what year that would have been, maybe 99, 2000-ish, somewhere in that time frame.
We came in 2000, so it would have been like probably May or June of 2000. And I would have been 27 at the time, I think.
Okay. And you're how old now?
46.
So obviously some time has
A little
passed.
bit of time has passed.
But I remember you even saying, like, you thought it was a joke that being so young, I was so young and leading a youth group and all of that. And that was my first memory of you. I just wanted to get that out there and share that. So before we get into any deep, dark questions, is that your little toy in the background?
That's Aiden's robot, Vector.
Nice.
And I could move him so that he's not bothering us.
Okay.
I didn't think about that
Sure.
earlier. He told us the time a minute ago. I don't know how he thought we wanted him to do that. But
He looks fun. Is he like a...
he is fun. He has a little, or I guess technically a big sister, Cosmo, but Vector is less playful and more into, like, doing things, telling you things. He's hooked up
he
to
tells
Alexa.
the weather. And
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But he is playing with his cube right now. But I can move him.
Okay. All that, and I'll get into mine and Chad's question, and we'll deal with Vector. So, Chad, I always like to start with this too, as a fun little thing. What size shoes do you wear?
Generally 10.
And do you have a brand or preference?
Well, I have probably about 12 pairs of low-top Converse. So, yeah, I'm pretty fond of those.
Fond of Converse.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just curious. And what's your favorite color in Converse?
Well, the ones I've been wearing mostly are my black leather ones. They're all black.
All right.
But, yeah. I mean, oddly enough, my favorite color is green, and I don't own any green ones. So
You're on the hunt.
I've been on the hunt for some green
For
ones.
some green Converse. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, maybe Converse will hear this and...
Well, they
shoot you out
make
of
them.
her.
I just haven't obtained them. But I have, like, off-the-wall colors, like gold, like shiny gold. And I have, like, maroon.
Your C-3PO ones.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I have some...
Okay. And Leslie, the question goes to you. What size of shoe do you wear, and do you have a preference of shoes?
Well, that's none of your business, but I'll tell you anyways. At least you didn't ask how much I weigh.
No, I stay away from that.
I wear 8.5s, and my shoe of choice.
Yeah. Shoe of
Probably
choice.
Beezies are her new thing because they are so awesome for...
Please don't answer for me, honey.
Well, she
No.
just bought some more
Honestly,
for Disneyland.
I don't have a brand.
Okay. You're not a brand snob.
No.
Okay.
They just have to be comfortable.
Got it.
I'm...
Okay.
Yeah.
I just curious. I always like to start with the shoe question because,
Yeah.
again, we're walking in your shoes. So it's always good to know what kind of pairs of shoes we may be, walking in tonight. So, so I'm going to jump in to this. I'm one of those people, I don't like to wade in the water. I just, I go cannonball in.
I've seen you cannonball once.
It's
or
dangerous.
twice.
It's dangerous. It's probably even a little ugly. But let's just jump right in, right? So in your mind, what is the greatest challenge facing youth groups today? And you guys can chime in, whoever wants to go first.
Greatest. I think the greatest challenge right now, and of course there's probably many, is the culture around us and the fact that we live in a culture that is so anti-Christian. While there are lots of Christians and there are lots of churches, the majority of the people around us are anti-church and anti-Christian. And it makes it hard. I don't know what your other questions will be, so I might just leave it right there because I have more to say about that.
Okay. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say getting their attention. I know that our daughter loves going to youth group. She loves going to church. She has lots of friends who are they're not adverse to going to church, but they'll come. But if there's something better out there, FOMO is real.
What is FOMO?
Fear of missing out.
Yeah.
Fear of missing out.
So they'll
Got it.
do
Okay.
one
I'm
thing,
not
but they
familiar with
bounce
that.
from
Yeah.
one thing to another
Okay.
because they just feel like they're missing out on something else going on
Gotcha.
where they aren't.
I hadn't heard that.
So
term
they don't
before.
want to commit.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we say your name, by the way? I didn't want to drop that unless you didn't feel comfortable with that. If you don't, that's fine. Look, we can stick with your daughter. So do you make your daughter go to church?
No.
We've never had to make her. No.
Okay.
No.
She's-
Thankfully she's always
Okay.
enjoyed it, and yeah.
And we'll get to that later on with some Barna research. But and your son, is he of age to go to youth group?
Mm-hmm.
And likewise, you probably don't make him go either, right?
Well, he's a little different. Our
Okay.
kids are very different.
Yeah.
And while Lainey, okay, I said her
Yeah,
name.
that's
There you
okay.
go. While our daughter likes going to church, and she's found things to do to serve in different ways
Mm-hmm.
that she enjoys, our son is just not as social to begin with. So social situations aren't fun for him. And so we don't have to drag him kicking and screaming, but he doesn't, he'd be just as happy to stay home.
Okay.
I don't know if you consider him the average kid, though. He's got some challenges. So.
Okay. Yeah.
I would consider him pretty average, though. In that he's very into video games and being on his
Yes.
phone or his DS, and he would rather do that than go be with other people.
Sure.
That's true.
Okay.
And I think that's pretty average for a lot of kids these days.
So, Chad, I think you kind of talked about this a little bit, and maybe this is building a little bit on what you were talking about. Is why do you think youth are so disengaging when it comes to church/youth group? You were kind of building on that a little bit.
That's not really where I was going, but I
Okay.
can still answer that question. I think we kind of hit on it a little bit with the FOMO. They're always looking for the next best thing, and they also are used to everything moving so fast with video games and all kinds of different media. They're used to exciting, and if it's not exciting, you lose them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Would you agree with that, Leslie, or would you have a different take on that?
No, I completely agree. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, don't
No,
have more to add.
no, that's okay. No, it's all right. Why should churches care that youth don't care about Jesus? Either one.
Why should churches care that
Youth don't care
Youth.
about. Yeah, sorry.
thought
That
you
youth,
said you? I'm like,
no, that youth
I was
don't
wondering
care
why
about
you
Jesus.
looked confused.
Yeah. So my understanding is there's a lot of youth right now don't really care about church. They don't care about youth group. They really care about probably like 7 things.
Yeah, maybe.
maybe it's maybe
Maybe that
Instagram, Snapchat, things like that. Their friends, their school, whatever. But church seems to be, and even Jesus and a relationship with Jesus seems to be way down on the list. So, and I'm curious, do you feel like churches really are or are not taking that seriously as far as kids not caring?
I can't really speak to a lot of other churches.
Sure.
I would say the church, meaning the body of Christ, should care because they're individual souls. We care or should care about all souls and whether they come to know Jesus, but they are our future. They're the future of church bodies, in the different locations. And if you're not growing and if you're not raising up that next generation, then you're dying.
I think that there should be a much bigger emphasis in the body of Christ, and each church is going to be different, but I feel like churches aren't putting enough emphasis on youth, and the reason it's important is that most people will accept Christ between the window of 4 and 14, and if they're not reached in that window, the chances of them becoming a Christian are much lower. And I can't remember the statistics right now, but
That's okay.
It's-
That's
But
great
it's
data.
huge.
But that
It's
is
huge.
great data, and that is undisputed data too.
And I
Yeah.
think that 414 window is closing. Because that's been around for at least 5 to 10 years, and I would say it's probably 4 to 10. After 10 years old, and I'm not saying that's an exact
Sure.
well, the
age.
percentage is going down.
But yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
I think it's just harder and harder because our kids are just there's so much out there. You listed a bunch of different
Right.
things like Instagram and Facebook
Right.
and
Snapchat.
Holla, and whatever. You could go on and on and on, and it's vying for their attention, and that's how they socialize. That's how they get a worldview is by what they're seeing. These things that are, they're not reality necessarily. They're cultivated before being posted, but that's what they are seeing as reality. And I mean, I say they, but it's not just a kid thing. I mean, I'm on Instagram.
No,
I'm on Facebook.
it is.
I'm on Snapchat.
It's unfortunate the impact that media has on people in general, but especially for kids, because they're so much more moldable. They're so much more impressionable. They don't really know what real is, so it's so much easier for them to get on the wrong track.
Yeah, the new thing in our house, my daughter's 11. She's in middle school now, 6th grader in middle school out in our district. And Fortnite has now made its appearance into our home, much to my chagrin. I don't know anything about it. She was
You
trying
don't
to
floss?
I wouldn't know.
It's one of the dances, the floss.
Sure, I've seen it. It took me a second to figure out what you were talking about. Gosh, I feel
can tell by your teeth
I
that
feel
you
old.
do floss.
I do.
I only
just went
know
to the
because
dentist.
I've been around youth. I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, and I think I've seen some stuff online about it. So I mean, it took me a second to put that context into perspective. But yeah, those are obviously, in my mind, great answers. So what role does biblical discipleship play not only in your lives but in ministry, in your opinion? Who wants to go first?
I think it's necessary. Biblical discipleship, having somebody who's helping you, that's discipling you, and then somebody that you are discipling. And I say that I feel it's necessary. It doesn't mean that's happening for me all the time in both of those aspects. But I heard a sermon once talking about the Galilean Sea and Sea of Galilee.
Sea of Galilee? Okay.
And the Dead Sea. And I don't know if this is true, but the sermon talked about how the Sea of Galilee was a living sea because it had water flowing in and out. And the Dead Sea was a dead sea because it only had water flowing in. Or maybe
I know where she's going with this.
And it's like if you don't have somebody mentoring you and discipling you with that water flowing in, it's hard for you to then flow into someone else as a disciple. Okay. And I mean, there's no judgment that you for sure are dead or not doing well, but I think that's the healthiest picture.
Yeah.
How would you speak to that, Chad?
I had some thoughts early on, and then she said that thing about the Galilean Sea. But what she's referring to there is that it's thought that as a Christian you should have a Timothy, both that you're pouring into, and that you should have a Paul that's pouring into you. So, and I think that's important. But discipleship is super important. There are so many Christians in the church today, in the body of Christ, that are just babies. And they've been Christians for, 20, 30, 40 years. And they're baby Christians because nobody has ever really given them the meat.
So I'm gonna really ask you guys to jump in the DeLorean with me for a quick sec.
Ooh.
All right, so here we go. We're going back in time.
Okay.
Now I'm guilty of this, so my hand's already up. The joy of looking at this first, I get to kind of be guilty as charged here. Do you think back in the day when we had a youth group of 20 to at any point in time we had 40? I mean, I remember as a high of 40, and as low sometimes as 6, 5, 4 even sometimes Sunday morning. But think back to that time, and I'm guilty of this, so I'd love to hear your answer. But do you think we did a great job of discipling kids in those days? Because my answer, if I was going to answer right now, would no. I personally did not. So I'm going to own that right now.
Well, it depends on who and when, because there were times when I did take time to disciple individuals, but you can't really disciple very well on a Sunday morning or even at a Wednesday night especially. It's even crazier. So discipleship has to go beyond the group. it has to be more of an individual or a small group.
Intentionality.
And
even.
so I guess the way you can do that and the way that it probably needs to be done is any given gathering should have some sort of small group that then can be at least somewhat of a discipleship time.
Yeah, I recall, being close with individuals, girls in the youth group, and Elizabeth and I getting together with them.
Yeah.
So I think there was that relationship, but in the broadest sense of discipleship, I guess you could say that was happening, but not really getting into spiritual matters beyond superficial very often. I would have to say I could have done better. Yes.
Well, and I guess, and so we didn't really say this on the onset, but we talked about it pre-show, but I started reading this book called You Lost Me, and the whole book is based on this premise of kids in high school, right? And then, as they graduate, get into their mid-20s or, early 20s and then to mid-20s, there's this dramatic drop-off. There's this almost like this gigantic evolution of just them leaving, right? This epidemic of kids leaving. And so, I did some soul searching, and I was like, man, how many kids did we have that have nothing to do with church? Want absolutely nothing to do with it. And some maybe who have stayed, and some who have stayed connected for whatever reason. And so it has brought me now to this quest, which now we're talking about right now. So that's kind of where I'm coming from, because even for me, I was thinking back, there were a couple of kids that I, pulled aside that I really tried to pour into. Gary's one of them. Some of the other kids, and I'm just like, I did such a disservice to them by not doing that. So, and by no means am I calling you guys on the carpet or you guys were terrible leaders because you didn't do that.
I agree.
I hope you don't feel that way.
We definitely.
But I just feel like when we look back, at least when I look back, I'm like, man, I could have done better.
I agree.
To look at how many kids we had come through the youth group and how many we can identify that actually stuck with it and still have a relationship with Christ now, or some of those kids may come back at some point, and we planted seeds for sure, but we didn't disciple the way we should have.
Right.
No, we definitely were very involved. As youth leaders, I think we did as much as any youth leader could or would, and I do think that we provided a good place for kids to come, and
it was safe, and we definitely had some good messages.
I was getting to that too, that, the message was there. They heard the message. But did I think to take on one or two and individually meet with them in other times? No, I didn't. At the time, maybe I felt like it was enough. I don't know. Working with kids now, I really see how 1 hour a week with kids who don't have any kind of spiritual influence at home, or very little maybe, it's just not enough, and it's heartbreaking, but you do the best you can. Working with kids, you're not going to, take them outside of a Sunday
younger.
As much, unless you know the families well. But I notice it more and think about it more as I work with these kids, young kids. But if you could only go back, like you said, in your DeLorean.
Yeah. Well, and again, I by guys that we've known each other a long time. I really want to stress that I'm not throwing rocks. I'm not saying it's all your fault and I was perfect, because as I said, I was just as guilty. And I guess that's the part that really now moving forward has pushed me into, because I still work with youth where I am now, and that's the part that has pushed me to propel myself forward, to say, okay, made those mistakes, let's not do it again. Let's really focus on the ones that I have in front of me, not forgetting about the ones behind me, but now forgetting, focusing on those and really trying to dig in more to that. So on to another question. So, reaching youth is such a passion. Why is it a passion for both of you, do you feel like?
Well, it's obvious from my response before. It is such a crucial time of their life, and so that's the reason that I think that we need to do it. But also for me, the reason I want to do it is youth, in most cases, you're able to connect with them, and you can see the change. You can see them light up. You can see them hear the truth and understand something, and you get a real result when they make a connection. And so it feels good, and because it's a God thing, you know that it's not you, but you still feel good about how God is using you.
Well, yeah, youth are like a different animal in so many ways. As I get older, it's like I'm that crotchety old person. Youth these days,
get off my
I
yard.
I don't understand you kids. And yet, they're so.
But yet
different.
you have a Snapchat. Don't even go there.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Don't even go there. I don't buy that.
Every minute, one day I feel 15, the next day I feel 80. But what was I saying?
Something about, I don't know.
Something about youth.
Something about youth.
No,
how they're a
yes,
different animal now.
They're like such
sorry.
not even now. Well, okay, maybe now. They're
Yeah.
such a different animal, and yet they are fun, And even when I don't understand them all the time, I am not working with a youth group at our church or anywhere else right now. But like I said, I have two teenagers, and our daughter is social, and so when I'm around her friends, they're just fun. And it's amazing how, I don't know if they talk with other people the way they talk with me, or if they talk with their parents the way they talk with me, but they're open and honest, and at least I hope so. But
They seem to be honest.
They seem to be honest, and I feel like I can make a difference. Adults can be fun too, but we're all set in our ways. We all think we know everything already.
Yeah. So let's look at this Barna study. So Barna came out with this study. They gave 6 reasons. These are in no particular order on why kids leave. So I'm going to read the statement and then agree or disagree, and maybe why you agree or disagree. How's that sound? Okay. So
right.
Reason number 1, church seems overprotective. Agree or disagree?
Church seems overprotective.
Correct.
I would agree if it's in the sense of like that list of don'ts. Like you can't do.
I think it is in that
yeah,
context.
So I would
Okay.
agree
That
with
makes
that.
more sense.
I think
I was trying to figure out what they were going for.
It
there.
is in that context.
Yeah, I think that the American church in the last few decades has gotten very judgy.
Yeah, I think it's gotten better actually, but from this
very recently
70s and 80s, and I wasn't even around in this. I mean, I was born in the 70s, but I was a kid, so I didn't know what was going on. But I know from history that the church was so traditional, and
the church was so traditional. Sorry, Jack.
Yeah, that's okay. It was traditional, and they were so concerned about doing what's right that they missed, reaching out to people. Mm-hmm. And youth were part of that demographic. And
that actually for me worked, because I like my list of do's and don'ts in general. I like to know where I stand. I like to know what to do. I like to have the rule and follow it. And so for me, it was not a problem at all. But I could see how a lot of kids, a lot of people would just see that as judgmental and restrictive, missing the love somehow.
Yeah. Reason number 2, teens and 20-somethings experience of Christianity is shallow. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, it's got to be shallow, because they're not even giving it a chance, most of them. It's
I would agree, yes.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Reason number 3, churches come across antagonistic to science. Agree or disagree?
That's a tough one. I'd love to say disagree, but I can't. I think overall Christianity sounds very anti-science. And I think that a lot of Christians speak anti-science, whether they mean to or not.
Which is kind of strange, because there are lots of Christian scientists that can prove all of the things that most people believe, that fit in with creation. So,
Yeah. And I think that the church isn't, whether people realize it or not, it doesn't disagree with what you just had said, but I think the church isn't necessarily anti-science. They're anti, quote-unquote, scientific facts that are put out there that aren't really using scientific methods. But,
It's
that's
true.
just semantics. When it comes down to it, the church still seems anti-science, I think.
I think sometimes science is an excuse that kids or adults will use to not have to believe in something that they feel like they will have to change their ways.
Okay, reason number 4. Young Christians' church experience related to sexuality are often simplistic and judgmental.
One more time, please.
I'll let you read it. You're probably a better
Thank
reader
you.
than me. Yep.
We're on
Number
number
4.
4.
Yep.
Young Christians' church experiences related to sexuality are often simplistic and judgmental.
Yeah.
Their
So I think it's
church experiences.
Yeah, I think it's in reference to homosexuality is the big one. Is that if
Very
kids
black and white.
if kids are struggling with that, if they they want it to be simple or simplistic and judgmental, I think that's what it's in reference to. So
I'm somewhere in the middle. I don't firmly agree with that. Their experiences related.
So, just to clarify, are we answering whether we agree with the study that this is why kids are...
yeah, just
Okay.
if you agree with the statement or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah. I think that our culture is very difficult right now for Christians and for people who believe that, what the Bible teaches about homosexuality and those topics. And so kids get caught in the crossfire. And they feel, I'll give you an example. I got to chaperone a choir trip for my junior, my daughter who is a junior in high school. And on this choir trip, there are several people who identify as a different gender. And I got to see face to face, and there were several others who, claimed to be, different in other ways. But what they're dealing with is real, and it's difficult for them to figure out how they fit into that.
Yeah. And it's hard for young Christians to work within that system.
That's what I mean. Because that's the specific thing is that we're talking about.
Some Christians maybe confuse themselves, but those teenage Christians who have a firm understanding and belief, like our daughter, it's difficult. She'd rather just not deal with it. She's told us that, and at this point in her life, that's probably okay. It is in a school setting where she needs to be thinking about other things, but she says, yeah, I just steer clear of that topic.
But if you have a young Christian who is trying to be part of a group that then starts speaking against that, yet she's got friends at school who are part of that scene, it really makes it hard for them. And so that would be a reason that they would possibly leave the church.
You want to read number 5?
Sure.
Okay.
Number 5, reason number 5, they wrestle with the exclusive nature of Christianity. Oh, gosh, don't we all? But I would say yes.
Exclusive nature.
You would say you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of, Jesus said it himself. There's one way.
Well,
He is the way, the one way.
And that's what I was just going to say. So the quote that comes to mind right out of the gate for me is Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me."
Yeah.
Pretty exclusive in my mind.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the part that kids are struggling with too. But
Yeah,
again, you guys-
he's Jesus when he spoke was very clear. You know, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father,
Right.
and it's he is God. There's no other, and so it's.
I don't know, I was a strange child, I guess, but I never had a problem with that. It made sense to me that there would be one way. But I lost what I was going to say. Gary, cut this out.
I was going to say
Yeah,
that
please.
the thing is, though, to me, if you're a logical person, it makes sense to have one way. If there's a bunch of ways, how does that make sense?
Why is there a destination?
It reminds me of Little House on the Prairie and how there
sorry,
were.
what?
It's
This really
it doesn't-
old show.
It doesn't have anything to do
Really
with the show
wholesome and
itself.
old.
Okay,
But
I was just trying
there was
to like
a
I
husband
didn't know
and
you
wife.
were quoting Little House on the Prairie right now, so I'm just trying to come to grips with that.
No.
Please keep going. I'm
Okay.
now intrigued.
Here's the point: two husband and wife who are different religions, and they were trying to decide what
this
their
isn't
child.
historically accurate, I don't believe.
No, that's not my point.
It was
That's-
a part of the show.
But the point is that they're trying to decide which religion their kid should be. Well, neither of them should be conceding, or if they really believe what they believe, then
I will help you out here.
Yeah.
It was Nellie Olson and her husband Percival, and she was pregnant with twins, and Percival was Jewish and she was Christian. And yeah, it was like their families were pulling and tugging, and they're going to be Jewish. No, they're going to be Christian. And, no, if they're Jewish, they, won't be saved. If they're Christian, they're heathens or whatever, And that was the solution they came up with. One would be Christian and one would be Jewish. Well, that solution means that you don't believe either religion or either teaching.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I guess the hard part, right? I know you guys are Costco card holders.
We
Oh
love
yeah,
Costco.
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
right?
we do.
And
do the Costco.
and if I was going to go grab my wallet, it would say exclusive membership, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm wondering if that's the part that people get hung up on right now, is because in this now me generation, right? Nobody wants to be excluded. Nobody wants to be left out. I mean, you kind of alluded to
FOMO,
that, right?
yeah.
Exactly. So now with this exclusive nature of Christianity or Jesus, honestly, I hate the word. I shouldn't say hate. I really dislike the word Christian. It only appears 3 times in the Bible. But the word disciple appears a whole lot more than that.
Yeah.
And so, and Christianity's been so overused. I mean, everyone's a Christian,
Right.
whether you're
Jesus
Mormon,
follower.
Jewish, whatever.
Well,
it doesn't matter.
The Christian, the word Christian was not a favorable one when it was created.
Right.
They were saying those are the Jesus followers.
Right. So with that even being said, I get why people, not only youth, but people in general, really struggle with this idea of exclusive. Like, wait a minute, why are you excluding me?
Yeah,
You
well,
know?
it
And
sounds
so-
narrow-minded.
And that too. Right.
That's what I was going to get at. Gary, this is what I was going to talk about. Narrow-minded versus open-minded.
Right.
Open-minded is a good thing. We want to be open-minded. We don't want to push things aside and not consider them in general. But I believe that in your spirituality, narrow-mindedness makes sense. One way. And
That's what I was saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Last one, number 6. Church feels unfriendly to those who doubt. I really like this one. Out of the 6, this is probably my favorite question or favorite reason.
I think I would agree with the statement that people feel that way. It's very frustrating to me, though, because if they would just give it a chance and get to know people, they would probably not feel that way.
Yeah, it's mostly it's because they feel like an outsider when they try to come in, and it's usually not the fault of the people. It's just the fact that the people that are there are used to what's happening, and so
I think they're expecting an outcome.
Right.
And so they get it or believe they do. I won't use names at all, but there was someone who came to our church a while back who had come as a youth, and she was in a position to where I could see how she could feel guilty about her situation, and we hadn't seen her in a long time, and she was there, and so I was like, hey, I'm going to go say hi and just let her know I'm glad she's here. And I did. And she looked at me like she was looking through me and turned away. I was like, well, she's dealing with stuff, but at least I reached out. Well, I found out later that she was telling people that she went and she felt very judged and nobody would talk to her. And, that's her feeling, whether that's true or not, whether she really felt that way, I don't know. But it wasn't reality. So I think sometimes, maybe the church has a lot to deal with in their marketing, but, in the way people perceive the church and church buildings, church bodies. But I do think that people are going to get out of it what they think is happening, not necessarily the reality.
that was weird.
Yeah, I got a little feedback there. Sorry about that. So I'm wondering too, like, even as we had youth, and we'll start wrapping up, but even as we had youth through the years, do you think any of them really ever battled with the idea of doubt, like doubting the Bible, doubting really is Jesus being the only way? And do you think that doubt may have creeped in and now has put them on a path now where they're like, nah, I'm out. I'm not interested any longer.
I don't think it was probably doubt. I think, it's kind of like the parable of the sower and how there's, the different things that will kill the seeds. I don't know what's that noise is.
Yeah, I don't know what it is either.
There's a little helicopter in our microphone. Anyhow, I think most of the time they get choked out by the world. It's just... And there are so many influences that will overcome just the simple decision to follow Jesus.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, of course, there were going to be some youth. There were so many that came through and stayed for a while and left that will be the case, that they just had doubts to begin with, and they never really changed. I think the bulk of the youth that we worked with knew the truth, learned the truth if they didn't know it before they came. And for whatever reason, it maybe wasn't convenient for them in their life, or
again,
and so that they make decisions that lead them away from that. I know that there was one girl who her doubt wasn't really about Jesus and the truth of who he was and is. It was a doubt of whether she had really made a commitment, because she felt like she was always doing wrong, and so how could that be? So I think that doubt, happens for all of us for different reasons.
Okay, so we're going to have one question left, and then we're going to play a game. Because, it's youth group. We got to play a game in youth group, right?
Let's do a game.
Okay, so here's the last question.
It's a trash can.
It's not.
I don't want to play trash
It's
can.
not going to be trash.
Man, I love that game.
I still love that game.
No, it's the worst.
I've seen so many kids almost die through the years playing that game.
A lot
If
of
you don't
deaths.
know what we're
So
talking about, I
many
invite
injuries.
you to definitely go Google the game Trash Can if you're curious about what that looks like. I'm sure there's YouTube videos out there. Okay, so last question. If you could talk to all of the youth, let's just pretend, again, using our imagination, that we could get them all in one centralized location. The location necessarily doesn't matter, but having them all together, just start flipping names in your head of who's there and who's not. Hopefully all of them come, right? Kind of like a class reunion, if you will. What would you say to them?
So this is now or back then?
Now.
This is now.
This is now.
Ooh.
So taking the youth from the 40, we'll say 40-ish that we had, what would you say to them right now? No matter what stage they are in life, what would you, if you had this opportunity, what would you say to them?
I would say I love them. I love them so much. I always have, and I always will. that it doesn't matter where they're at. Good, if it's in a bad place, that can change. I mean, they can change. They can. It's not too late. Jesus loves them. This I know, for the Bible tells me so. No, but I mean, I would just say it's it's not about judgment. It's about love. It's about learning who Jesus is. Jump in, do it.
Okay. Chad?
Yeah, I would definitely tell them that I love them, and that more importantly, Jesus loves them. And I would say I'm sorry if we didn't share with you what you needed to hear to continue or to start a relationship with Jesus, but he is there, and he's been there the whole time. He's never left. Whether you made a commitment to him or not, he's still knocking on that door, and he's just begging for you to open it up, because he doesn't come in unless you open. He doesn't ever violate our space. He is a God who loves us and wants a relationship, but it's up to us to start that.
All right. Any closing thoughts, guys? Before we play the game?
Oh, I can't wait for the game.
Let's do the game.
Okay. All right. So this is a game I like to call Senseless. And, I wore a Seahawks jersey tonight for you guys, but
Go Hawks.
I could not escape the North Carolina Cup. So this comes with me everywhere I go, every podcast. And so each one of you get to roll the die. And then based on what you roll, you will answer what the number represents a question.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Pretty easy. So who wants, ladies first,
I'll
maybe?
go.
Okay,
Yes.
ladies first. Here we go. Leslie, go for it. And Chad, you will automatically lose this game because I know how you are about games with chance. So
Oh, gosh.
Okay, yes.
I rolled a 5.
You rolled a 5? Uh-oh. 5?
It better not be how much I weigh.
No. You'll like this one. I think you'll like this one.
Okay.
Favorite thing to taste?
Favorite thing to taste? Coffee.
Why?
It's so good.
Do you have
Why?
a specific flavor that you really dig, or
Just a good coffee flavor. I don't like my coffee black.
like Good Bean
I always...
from Jacksonville, maybe? Self-plug.
Sure, maybe. No. Yes, of course, Good Bean from Jacksonville.
Okay.
No, but I don't like my coffee black. I always need to have cream. But if it's a good coffee, you don't need sugar. You just want that coffee taste. And I love it. It's so good.
My wife, of course, would
Now you know my
solely
addiction.
disagree with you. But, that's okay. But no, I agree with you. Good cup of coffee. Okay. Ooh, Chad got a 4.
Oh, I got your favorite number.
A lot of people have been rolling 4s. I don't know why.
It's the cup.
This is a perfect one for you.
Okay.
You guys both got perfect things because I really feel like you're kind of a foodie still, right,
Oh,
Leslie?
yeah. Yes.
So that taste one was right up your alley. And we all know that Chad can cry at an AT&T commercial.
That's right.
So
Jingle all the way.
Yeah, that's-
Can you do the line?
Oh, I have no idea.
You know the line, I'm Turbo Man, or what is it? It's Turbo Time or something? I don't know.
You're gonna make me cry.
Look, my dad's Turbo Man or something. I can't even.
Man.
It's Turbo. I don't know.
Yeah.
We have to go back and look at that. All right, Chad. So here you go. This is totally up your alley too. One thing you love to hear.
One thing I love to hear.
Yep, one thing you love to hear.
Wow. Okay.
Will you rub my feet, honey? That's
Oh
what
my
you love to
gosh,
hear, right?
No, I don't care
No,
to hear
okay.
that one.
Are my
Although
feet- are
I
my
do
feet cold?
often rub your feet. So,
All right.
the one thing I love to hear, I love good music. Some of my favorite bands, the 77s, Micro.
Wow. Out of
trying
all
to
the
think.
things in the world to hear,
I love you. I love it when my wife says I love you.
wink, wink, elbow,
That's right.
elbow. If we were next to each other,
I was
yeah.
thinking the music on Main Street Disneyland, but whatever.
Oh yeah, she's a Disney fanatic.
We got to see the dance, the
Dancing, Dapper Dance.
Dapper
Dapper
Dans.
Dans. Yeah, when we were in Disney World, we got to see the Dapper Dans, and they were actually singing Winter Wonderland,
Oh, yeah.
which is my favorite Christmas carol.
Oh, wonderful. I love the Dapper Dans. Love
and
those
so I
Dans.
was super excited, and we quickly walked past them because we were trying to get to someplace important, I'm sure. But everybody was gathered around them, so it's kind of hard to get a picture. But I got it over some people.
Yeah.
So guys, I mean what I say, and I always say what I do most of the time. But I really do appreciate you guys giving me, this time to kind of look into youth and hear your passions about youth and just, share your insight, because I think both of you bring so much, insight. And of course, I've always felt both of you have a different perspective on life. And that's what's so great about, not only your relationship, but even what I think you give to the world as far as your different perspectives. So, and of course, I always say, remember, when you're walking in other people's shoes, you always get a different perspective. Thank you for listening to Other People's Shoes. And please, of course, listen to other episodes. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.